Hello, greetings everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here today to do an episode of Commonalities Compared. This is an episode we do on Sunday nights. Comes out around 8 o'clock, in which my subscriber friend Ben picks a topic from the Commonalities list. It could be two drummers, two guitarists, two bassists, two albums, two bands, whatever. And I compare the two, or I talk about the two, if you prefer. So this week, the commonalities are two heavy metal bands, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. Okay, I'm covering up the album covers here. Sorry about that. Anyways, these two bands obviously have quite a bit of stuff in common. Both British bands, both considered to be members of that new wave of British heavy metal that came out in the early 1980s, although Judas Priest was around for a lot longer than that. They came out in 1969 before they got their first album, probably in the mid-70s, and then moved on. From there, I considered them to be more of a progressive band at first, and maybe a little bit more hard, and then became more of a hard rock band, eventually developing that well-known metal sound that they're known for. Where Iron Maiden formed December 25th, 1975. The original formation member, Steve Harris, put the band together over a period of time, releasing their first album in 1980. So both of these bands, long-standing, lots of multitudes of albums. I believe Judas Priest has 19 in total, and maybe Iron Maiden maybe 18 or 17. I'm not quite sure. I didn't do the count, but yeah. So both of them have had a fair number of members. Judas Priest having a difficulty keeping drummers. So you got Ian Hill and KK Downing, Glenn Tipton, Rob Halford are the kind of the classic members, and then Dave Holland came eventually and became the main solid drummer for a period of time. They had a bunch of revolving door with drummers up until that point. And since that time, they've had Scott Travis as being the main guy on drums. I think he came on this. I think this was his first album. So what's this? 1990, I believe. Let me see if I can see through my glasses here. I believe this was 1990. Yeah, it doesn't say. Putting it down as 2001, that seems far too late for this album, though. I think this was the 1990s. But anyways, so Scott Travis has been the main guy there since then. So he's been in the band much longer than any of the other drummers. As for Iron Maiden, they had their kind of a few different people in the band. Clive Burr, Paul Di'Anno were in there initially on the first couple of albums. Clive Burr right to the third album, Number of the Beast. And then Nickel McBrain came on, and Bruce Dickinson on the Number of the Beast, and then Nickel McBrain came on the next album, which was Peace of Mind. So, and since that time, they've been reasonably stable, although Dickerson has left and was replaced for a bit of time, and Adrian Smith left and was replaced by Janet Gears. But now they're no longer even a 5-man band. They're a 6-man band because Adrian Smith came back and they just kept the band together. Although recently Nickel McBrain has decided to retire, so I'm not sure what Iron Maiden is going to do after that. Judas Priest has kind of stated that they're probably not going to tour anymore. It kind of makes a little bit of sense because Glenn Tipton, not well, can't really tour anymore, hasn't been able to tour for some time. So they maybe decided that they really don't want to do anymore. He may be getting sicker as it goes along. In fact, he more than likely is. Iron Maiden, it's hard to say. I'm not sure what they'll do with Nickel McBrain out of there because he kind of is the they kind of follow his lead, I guess is the best way of putting it. And with him gone, you'd have to get a new drummer. I'm not sure how that will go about. So both bands, complex rhythm and beats. Both have great hooks, great catchy riffs to their music. A lot of pretty prominent radio aspect songs, but then you have a lot of deep cuts too. Iron Maiden has an aspect of their music that's almost progressive in nature, and Judas Priest tried that little bit too there with Nostradamus. Judas Priest still making great albums. Iron Maiden's still making really good albums too. And my guess is if they replace Nickel McBrain, they'll probably make another album as well. It makes sense. So in recent years, Judas Priest replaced KK Downing left the band. He was replaced by Richie Faulkner. So both bands maintain a double guitar sound, although Iron Maiden now has 3, but basically they like that twin guitaring. Both have made careers on that twin guitaring, and both are considered, like I said, members of that new wave of British heavy metal sound, although I tend to think of Judas Priest as being prior to that, and a band that kind of evolved into a metal sound from maybe not such a metal sound earlier, where Iron Maiden, I think, kind of evolved into this metal sound as well, with a little bit more faster paced metal sound, evolving from a more of a metal punky feel to their music as well. So yeah, lots of really good stuff from both these bands. For me personally, Iron Maiden was my favorite of the two for the longest period of time. But over the course of the, I can say, mid to late 90s, right up until I started this channel, they kind of in the background. I wasn't listening to them much. And even when I started the channel, I thought maybe that their time with me is kind of done. I don't think they'll amount to much more. Where Judas Priest had always been a band I'd listen to. They got to a certain plateau and just continued to stay there. And when the channel started, I started finding more of their stuff and got right into them, to the point where I placed them as being a band I liked more than Iron Maiden, and it had never been that way in their history. But over the last year or so, Iron Maiden has made that recovery, which is a little bit surprising to me, but they have. And now I'm listening to both of them a lot. So it'll be interesting to see if either of these or both of these can make my elite group of what I have is 9 now. Both these bands could make that and make it at a 10 and 11. Judas Priest currently is probably about 10th for me, where Iron Maiden may be closer to like 12th, with Zeppelin kind of separating the two now. So it's just a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think metal would have any kind of resurgence with me, but it has. And both these bands have a lot to do with that. So anyways, I highly recommend both bands. Both have a fairly lengthy discography. I think Judas Priest now has 19, and maybe Iron Maiden has like 18 albums. So I suggest if you haven't listened to either of these bands and you want to get into metal, these are 2 of the kings of metal for me. So I suggest that you go and give them a listen to. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please hit the like and subscribe if you have. Don't forget the notification bell above my head. If you want to make any comments about Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or any of their albums or anything that I've said or anything that you want to say about the band, you can put that in the comment section below. I'm trying to answer stuff if I'm asked a question, or I like when people notice something that I don't know, which is good. Anyways, we will see you next Sunday with another episode of Commonalities Compared. Have yourself a good evening, and goodbye.